Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are doing something, well, a little bit different. Something I'm actually incredibly excited about because it feels like we're being handed the keys to a secret code.
It really does.
Right. Usually we take a stack of articles or a heavy book
Yeah.
and we pull out the big ideas, the history, the science. But today we're looking at language itself, specifically the language of success.
It's a fascinating area to explore. We often think of vocabulary as just this static list of words we need to memorize to pass a test or, I don't know, maybe to order a coffee in a foreign country.
Exactly.
But when you step into the professional world, vocabulary changes completely. It becomes a tool, it becomes a signal to everyone around you.
Yes. And we have this stack of source material today that is essentially a survival guide for the modern workplace. It focuses entirely on explaining vocabulary for career and business English.
The nuts and bolts of professional survival.
Exactly. It covers everything from the moment you start looking for a job to negotiating your salary to climbing that corporate ladder and even the personality traits you need to survive it all. And what struck me immediately is that business English isn't just about grammar.
Not at all.
It's about code switching. It's about understanding nuance. It's about reading between the lines of a job description and knowing what they are actually saying behind the corporate speak.
That is the crucial distinction right there. There is the denotation of a word, the literal dictionary definition, and then there is the connotation, the implied meaning.
The hidden weight of the word.
Right. Because in a business context, using the wrong word can silently signal that you are inexperienced or that you just don't quite fit the culture. Conversely, using the right word, the precise term, can instantly elevate your status in the room.
So let's start with a big question to kick this off, just to frame things for everyone listening. What is the difference between looking for a job and seeking a career?
It sounds like a semantic trick, doesn't it? Just playing with words.
It really does. Like something a recruiter says to sound important.
But there is a fundamental difference in mindset there. Looking for a job is immediate. It's about solving a problem right now. I need income, I need to pay rent, I need to fill my time.
It's transaction.
Exactly. But seeking a career, that implies a trajectory. It implies a long-term strategy. You're building something.
That foundation.
Yes. And the vocabulary we are going to unpack today covers that entire spectrum, all the way from the high flyer who is shooting up the ranks to the person who, unfortunately, hits the glass ceiling.
I love that. We are going to map out the entire life cycle of an employee today. We'll start with the hunt, which is decoding those job ads. Then we'll move to the package, so money and benefits,
Fun.
usually. Then climbing the ladder, and finally the internal engine, which is about what makes you tick personally. So let's just dive right into Chapter 1, the headhunt.
Let's do it.
Okay, so you open up your laptop, you go to a hiring site. What are you actually looking at? The source material makes a really specific distinction right off the bat between a job ad and an advertisement.
Oh, right. And this is a perfect example of register.
Register.
The level of formality in your language, job ad is very informal. It's what you say to your friend over lunch, hey, I saw a job ad for a graphic designer today.
Oh, yeah.
But advertisement is the formal term. If you are writing a cover letter to a hiring manager or speaking in a formal interview, you might refer to the advertisement you saw.
So if I walk into an interview and I sit down and say, hey, I saw your job ad, am I already losing points?
Well, you're not necessarily losing points, but you aren't gaining any for professionalism.
Right.
It's very subtle. Using advertisement or even listing shows you are in a professional mode. It signals a certain level of awareness to the interviewer.
Okay, so we're reading this advertisement.
Yeah.
And we get to the section where they describe the ideal candidate, the person they want. And the source material highlights this specific phrase, ambitious achievers.
Ambitious achievers. It is a very powerful pairing of words.
It sounds intense. Like, why not just say, we want hard workers? Everyone wants a hard worker.
Because hard worker implies effort, but not necessarily efficiency or success. You can work incredibly hard digging a hole in the ground and then filling it back up again. You are a hard worker, but you haven't actually accomplished anything useful.
That's a great visual.
Achiever implies results. It implies completion of a goal. And then you add ambitious, which provides the vector. It means you want to go somewhere. You want to grow.
So companies use this specific phrase when they want people who aren't just going to clock in at 9 and clock out at 5.
Exactly. They want people who are oriented towards success. They want people who are going to push the company forward.
It's almost like a filter.
It is entirely a filter. If you are someone who values a very quiet, low-stress life where you do your tasks and go home, you see ambitious achiever and you might just scroll past it.
And that's exactly what the company wants you to do.
Precisely. It saves everyone time.
Here's another one from that section that genuinely made me laugh. Money motivated or eager. Now, in polite society, we are usually taught not to talk about money like that. You don't walk into a room and say, "Hi, I'm here for the cash."
Definitely not.
But the source text lists this as a key descriptor in business vocabulary.
Well, context is everything here. If you are applying for a role in social work or teaching or a nonprofit, saying you are money motivated is a massive red flag.
Yeah, that would not go over well.
But if you are applying for sales, it is a virtue.
Really, just laying it out there.
Absolutely. In a sales role, being money motivated means you have an inherent enthusiasm for the financial reward, and your financial reward is tied directly to the business's revenue.
Because of commissions.
Right. If a salesperson isn't hungry for that commission, they probably won't hustle to close a deal. So admitting you are money motivated in that specific context is actually a sign of honesty. It shows alignment with the company's ultimate goals.
It's actually kind of refreshing. Just putting it on the table. I like money, you like money, let's make money together.
Exactly, no pretending. And that links directly to the word eager in the text. Being eager is about enthusiasm and readiness. It's about not waiting around to be told what to do.
And hopefully, if you are an ambitious achiever who is money motivated and eager, you eventually fit the description.
That is the ultimate goal of the applicant phase, to fit the description. It means you perfectly match the profile they built in that advertisement.
Okay, now let's look at the environment. The ad usually describes the company itself, right? And we see these phrases everywhere. Dynamic, fast-moving industry.
Ah, yes. The absolute classic corporate buzzwords.
What does that actually mean? Because to me, dynamic just sounds like a really cool, polite word for chaotic.
You are honestly not far off.
Really?
Yes. When you see dynamic, fast-moving industry in a source text or an ad, you need to translate that code. It means things change quickly. It means you cannot sit still.
So no coasting.
Exactly. It means processes that worked perfectly fine yesterday might be obsolete tomorrow. You will have to pivot constantly.
So if you are someone who likes routine, who likes to know exactly what your Tuesday is going to look like every single week,
then a dynamic, fast-moving industry is going to be a total nightmare for you. It is corporate code for adaptability required, and it very often implies a degree of stress, or at the very least, a very high-energy environment.
Okay, what about this one? Close-knit team. That sounds nice. It sounds cozy, like we all sit around and knit sweaters together on our lunch break.
It does sound incredibly cozy. And linguistically, it denotes a solid, united collective, a tight group. But you always have to read the shadow side of these terms, too.
Which is what in this case?
A close-knit team can sometimes imply a complete lack of privacy.
Oh, interesting.
It might mean everyone is in everyone else's business all the time. It implies a strong social pressure to conform to the group's norms.
It's like a small town. Everyone knows your business.
That is the perfect analogy. So if you are a solitary worker who likes to just put on headphones, do your work, and ignore everyone for 8 hours, a close-knit team might find you aloof or difficult to work with.
Because you aren't playing the social game.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay. And then you have diverse range of clients.
That one sounds like a variety.
Yeah, like you won't be bored.
It does imply that your workday won't be repetitive. You will be dealing with different industries, different personalities, different problems.
Which is good for the ambitious achiever.
Yes, it suggests intellectual stimulation, but it also secretly signals the need for very high emotional intelligence to handle all those different types of people without causing friction.
Okay, moving on to the motivation side of things. The source material lists two types of careers here, a lucrative career and a rewarding career. Now, I feel like people often conflate these two things when they talk about success.
They absolutely do, but they're diametrically different concepts in the vocabulary of business. Lucrative comes from the Latin word lucrum, which means profit. So a lucrative career is simply one that pays very well. That is the strict definition. It focuses entirely on the financial output.
Like investment banking or corporate law.
Often, yes. Whereas a rewarding career focuses on satisfaction. That could be moral, emotional, or material satisfaction, but it's usually about the internal feeling of value and contribution.
So teaching is often described as a rewarding career.
Yes, but rarely is it described as a lucrative one, unfortunately.
Right, and being a hedge fund manager might be highly lucrative, but for some people it might not feel rewarding in a spiritual or emotional sense.
Exactly. Now, the sweet spot, the holy grail for most people, is finding a career that is both. But having the precise vocabulary allows us to distinguish between the two motivations when we evaluate an opportunity.
And driving all of this, whether you want lucrative or rewarding, is that internal engine, the word drive.
Drive. It's such a great, forceful monosyllabic noun. It is defined in our materials as internal energy and striving for a goal.
It's the engine behind the ambitious achiever.
It is. And the fascinating thing about drive is that you can't teach it. A manager can teach you skills, they can teach you how to use a new software system, but they cannot teach you drive. You either bring it to the table or you don't.
That leads us to the intent of the applicant. The source material draws a very distinct line between the phrase to look to work in and the phrase to seek a career in.
This brings us right back to our intro hook. To look to work in is very functional.
Like, I am looking to work in retail.
Yes. It suggests a simple plan, a hope, maybe something temporary just to pay the bills. But to seek a career in has gravitas.
I am seeking a career in medicine.
Exactly. It implies you are looking for a path, a ladder to climb, a long-term commitment. You are investing yourself.
So if you were writing a cover letter, you'd probably want to be seeking a career, right?
Generally, yes. It signals a long-term commitment to the hiring manager.
Okay, let's say you've successfully decoded the ad. You've shown your drive, you've proven you're an ambitious achiever, you get the offer letter. Now we enter Chapter 2 of our deep dive, the package. This is money, time, and benefits.
The real nuts and bolts of working life.
Let's talk about the money first. The specific term here in the text is basic salary.
This is a crucial technical term that trips up a lot of young professionals. Basic salary is your guaranteed base pay. It does not include bonuses, it doesn't include commissions, overtime, or any financial benefits.
Why is that distinction so important to understand?
Because of those money-motivated people we talked about earlier. Let's say a job is advertised with an OTE, which stands for on-target earnings of $100,000.
Sounds great.
It does. But if you look closely and the basic salary is only $30,000, that is a very risky proposition.
Because the $70,000 is totally dependent on your sales.
Exactly. You need to know what the basic is. That is the floor. That is what you get paid even if the economy crashes and you sell absolutely nothing that year.
That is a huge distinction. It's your safety net. And then once you are in the job, you hope for salary increments.
Yes. Salary increments. That is the formal contractual term for a raise.
And so clinical.
It is. Salary increments are regular structural increases, often tied to annual performance reviews or maybe just inflation adjustments. It's part of the steady, expected climb.
Now, beyond the cash itself, there's the stuff, the extras. The source material distinguishes carefully between perks and benefits. And I feel like modern startups just love to blur this line to trick people.
Oh, they certainly do. It's a very common recruitment tactic. But linguistically and legally, they are completely different categories.
Break that down for us.
Benefits usually refers to the formal, contractual elements of your compensation that provide fundamental security. So this is your health insurance, your pension or retirement contributions, your legally mandated paid leave. These are substantial, expensive things for a company to provide.
These are the things that actually keep you safe and stable.
Correct. Perks, on the other hand, and notice it's an informal term, are the nice-to-haves.
The fluff.
Exactly. The free artisanal coffee in the break room, the ping pong table, maybe a company car, or a subsidized gym membership.
So comprehensive health insurance is a benefit. Free craft beer on Fridays is a perk.
Exactly. And a savvy job seeker knows not to be dazzled by the flashy perks if the core benefits are lacking. You can easily buy your own beer on a Friday. You cannot easily buy your own comprehensive corporate health plan.
That is incredibly good advice for anyone listening. Don't trade your dental plan for a beanbag chair.
Never.
Let's talk about time off. We have three big terms highlighted here: maternity leave, paternity leave, and holiday entitlement.
Maternity leave, of course, is the standard time off granted to mothers around the birth or adoption of a child. But paternity leave is quite interesting because its inclusion in standard business vocabulary lists really reflects a massive shift in modern labor standards.
Yeah, like 50 years ago, that term was virtually unheard of in a standard corporate setting.
Right. Its prevalence now acknowledges that fathers also need and expect time for childcare. Seeing paternity leave explicitly stated in a benefits package signals a much more progressive company culture.
And then we have holiday entitlement. I really like the use of the word entitlement here.
It's a very strong, specific word.
Because usually if you call someone entitled, it's an insult.
Right. In general conversation, entitlement can be very negative, like, oh, he has such a sense of entitlement. But in employment law and business vocabulary, it is entirely positive.
Because it's a right.
Exactly. It means you have a legal or contractual right to it. It is not a gift from the boss. It is yours. You have sold your labor to the company, and part of the agreed-upon price is this specific time back.
So take your holiday entitlement, people. Don't leave it on the table.
Absolutely. It is part of your compensation.
But what happens if the balance of all this is off? The source gives us a phrase that I think every single working person has used at least once in their life. Overworked and underpaid.
It's a classic collocation.
Collocation, meaning words that naturally go together.
Yes. Notice we almost never say underpaid and overworked. The natural rhythm, the fixed expression, is overworked and underpaid.
It rolls off the tongue. It's like a fixed joke.
It is. It's a culturally understood way to complain about the imbalance of effort versus reward, and it is the exact opposite of the next term, job satisfaction.
Job satisfaction. That's the ultimate goal, isn't it?
It is the feeling of deep professional and personal fulfillment. And interestingly, sociological studies show that job satisfaction isn't always directly correlated with the highest basic salary.
Really?
Yes, it very often comes from that close-knit team we mentioned, or the rewarding career aspects where you feel you're making a difference.
So you could technically be in a lucrative career, but have terribly low job satisfaction.
Happens all the time. And conversely, you can be objectively overworked and underpaid, but still report high job satisfaction if the work is deeply meaningful to you. Though I should warn, that is usually a recipe for severe burnout eventually.
True. Passion doesn't pay the rent forever. Okay, so we've got the job, we understand the pay structure and the benefits. Now we want to move up. Chapter 3. Snakes and ladders. Career growth and the obstacles in your way. The dynamic phase of a career. First, you have to get in the door or be selected for the promotion. The term here is to be shortlisted for a job.
I really like the visual imagery here. Imagine a literal long list of hundreds of applicants printed out on a desk. The process of hiring is essentially a process of subtraction.
You're just crossing names off.
Right. You cut the list down. So to be shortlisted means you survived the initial call. Your name has been moved to the short piece of paper. You are in the serious pre-selection phase.
It's a victory in itself just to make it that far.
It is. It definitively proves that you fit the description.
And if you keep doing well, you get hired, you perform, you might be described as a high flyer.
I love this idiom, high flyer. It suggests altitude, it suggests speed, visibility. A high flyer is a very successful, highly promising employee, the one everyone in the office watches.
The one who is guaranteed to get the further promotion.
Yes. And further promotion implies a continuous step up the ladder. Not just one single promotion and you're done, but a planned trajectory of upward movement.
And I think it's not always a smooth ride up, is it? We have some much darker terms in this section of the vocabulary list.
We do. The obstacles, the snakes on the board, to use your metaphor.
The first one is a big one. To reach a glass ceiling or to hit a glass ceiling.
This is a critical sociological and business term. The source material defines it as the level above which it is impossible to advance.
And let's focus on the word glass. Why glass?
Because it's invisible.
That's the insidious part.
Precisely. You can see the next level. You can see the executive suite. You can look right into the boardroom. But you physically bump your head against an invisible barrier that prevents you from getting in there.
And what is that barrier usually made of in reality?
Usually it refers to structural systemic biases based on gender, race, or sometimes age. You aren't explicitly told you can't enter the boardroom. There's no sign on the door. You just somehow never get the key.
That is incredibly frustrating.
It is, because it's fundamentally different from just failing based on merit. It's structural.
Then there is the very personal sting of this phrase. To be passed over for promotion.
Passed over. Think about the spatial metaphor happening there.
Like it physically went around you.
Yes. The promotion was coming down the hallway, it saw you standing there, and it literally went right over your head and landed on the person standing behind you.
Ouch. That really captures the feeling.
It does. It heavily implies you were expecting it. You were perhaps the most logical choice on paper, but they deliberately chose someone else. It carries a very heavy emotional weight of rejection.
And then the absolute worst case scenario, to be demoted.
The direct opposite of promoted, going backward down the ladder, losing status, losing responsibilities, and usually losing salary. It is a severe, sometimes unrecoverable career blow.
So, to avoid being demoted and to hopefully break through that glass ceiling, you need certain traits. Which brings us perfectly to Chapter 4, the internal landscape, personal qualities.
This section is interesting because the source material actually pulls these terms from a text specifically about an exciting outdoor career, like a wilderness guide, but they apply perfectly to any high-pressure corporate job.
Absolutely. The first one on the list is self-reliance.
Self-reliance is confidence in one's own powers, deep independence. If you were hitting that glass ceiling, or if you were trying to survive in a dynamic, fast-moving industry where the rules keep changing overnight, you cannot always wait for a manager to come save you.
You have to figure it out yourself.
You do. You need extreme self-reliance.
Then we have adventurous spirit and tough mind.
Adventurous spirit obviously fits the outdoor theme of the text, but in a business context, it links closely to being eager and ambitious. It's a willingness to take calculated risks.
But tough mind, that one stands out to me. It sounds a bit harsh, like, ooh, she has a tough mind.
It does sound firm. It implies stoicism, a real firmness of character. It essentially means you do not crumble under pressure.
Like when things go wrong.
Exactly. When you are feeling overworked and underpaid, or when a major client yells at you over the phone, a tough mind is what allows you to keep functioning professionally instead of falling apart. It's resilience.
And then there is personal integrity.
The absolute foundation of professional trust, honesty, and principled behavior.
Which you need if you want lasting success.
Definitely. You might be a brilliant high flyer, you might be incredibly money motivated and close deals left and right, but if you lack personal integrity, your career will eventually collapse. People need to know you are fundamentally truthful.
Finally, we have resourcefulness.
I genuinely think this is the most underrated skill in the modern economy.
Really? How do you define it in this context?
The source defines it essentially as finding a way when there is no clear path laid out for you. It's a brilliant catch-all term for finding solutions. If you don't have the budget you asked for, if you don't have the time you need, if the software is completely broken, can you still get the desired result? That is resourcefulness.
I call it the MacGyver trait. Give me a paperclip and some chewing gum and I'll build you a marketing campaign.
Exactly. And it ties directly back to our first concept, ambitious achievers. Achievers are inherently resourceful. They do not make excuses when they hit a roadblock. They make it work.
I love that connection. It all ties together so well. Now, before we wrap up today, I want to play a little game to synthesize all of this. Chapter 5, the contrast game.
Oh, I see. We are using the antonyms from the source exercise.
Yes, exactly. Because I think the best way to truly understand the nuance of a word is to understand what it isn't.
Yeah.
So I am going to give you a phrase from our list, and you give me the opposite, and then we'll briefly discuss what that contrast actually tells us about the workplace.
I like it. I'm ready.
Okay, phrase 1, close-knit team.
The opposite provided is loosely organized team.
And what's the fundamental difference there?
It's order versus chaos, essentially. A close-knit team moves as one organism. They anticipate each other. A loosely organized team is just a random group of individuals bumping into each other in the hallway. It implies deep inefficiency.
Phrase 2, rewarding job.
The opposite is frustrating job.
Now notice it's not just boring. Why frustrating?
Because frustrating implies active annoyance. A rewarding job gives energy back to you. A frustrating job actively takes away from you. It takes your patience, your energy, your enthusiasm. It actively blocks your progress.
Phrase 3, dynamic or fast-moving.
Opposite, static or slow-moving.
Is static always a bad thing?
Not necessarily in every context. A static industry might be very stable and reliable, but in the context of career growth vocabulary, static usually implies stagnation, a lack of growth. Slow-moving means it takes forever to get a simple decision approved.
Okay, phrase 4, salary increment.
Opposite is a drop in salary.
The financial direction.
Simple math. One adds to your livelihood, one subtracts. And a drop in salary is usually an indicator of a major crisis point, either for the individual who is demoted or for the company itself struggling to survive.
Final one, to have drive.
Opposite, to have low motivation.
This one feels like the engine just stalling out completely.
It is. Low motivation is the death knell of a career trajectory. It means the internal engine we talked about has completely shut down.
You're just a zombie at your desk.
Pretty much. You might still physically show up, but you are no longer an achiever.
Mastering these pairs really allows you to describe any work situation with incredible precision, doesn't it?
It really does. Because you can use them to tell a highly specific story. You can say, I used to be in a static industry with a loosely organized team, which was deeply frustrating. But now I'm in a dynamic sector with a close-knit team, and even though I sometimes feel overworked, it is a highly rewarding career.
Wow,
You've just painted a complete, vivid picture of your professional life using those specific lexical units.
that is powerful stuff. So let's bring this all home. We've covered a massive amount of ground today.
We really have.
We've moved from reading the job ad and distinguishing it from a casual conversation to seeking a lucrative career instead of just looking for a job. We've talked about the absolute necessity of showing drive and resourcefulness to become that highly visible high flyer.
And we've looked closely at the dangers, too. Avoiding being demoted, managing that awful feeling of being overworked and underpaid, and trying to navigate around the invisible glass ceiling.
So synthesizing all of this source material, what does this actually mean for our listener? Why does memorizing and understanding this specific vocabulary actually matter in the real world?
Because this vocabulary is a toolkit. It is not just a list of words to memorize for an English exam. When you use the term paternity, leave correctly in a meeting, or when you confidently know the difference between perks and benefits during a tense salary negotiation, you completely change how you are perceived by the people in power.
You project authority.
Exactly. You signal competence. You signal to management that you understand the rules of the professional game.
It gives you control over your own narrative.
It does. And on a personal level, if you can accurately name your situation, if you can say, I am feeling frustrated because this team is loosely organized, you can begin to fix it. If you can't name the problem, you're just vaguely unhappy at your desk.
Yeah.
Language gives structure to our experience.
That is such a great insight. If you can name it, you can fix it.
Precisely. The words give you power.
I love that. Well, I want to leave everyone listening with a final, slightly provocative thought to chew on as we finish up.
Okay.
We spent some time talking about the glass ceiling today. It's this external limit, this invisible barrier imposed on you that you can't see, but you can definitely feel.
Right.
But looking back at our list of personal qualities from the final chapter, things like self-reliance, having a tough mind, having drive, being resourceful, it really makes me wonder about our own limitations. In your own career, for the person listening right now, are the limits you are facing actually external? Are they truly a systemic glass ceiling holding you down? Or are they internal?
Ah.
Is it actually a lack of drive? Is it a lack of resourcefulness on your part?
That is a very provocative question. It demands some serious, potentially uncomfortable self-reflection.
It does. Which vocabulary list currently describes your actual working life? The list of external obstacles, or the list of powerful internal qualities?
It's entirely up to you to decide which words apply to your story.
Exactly. Something very real to think about as you head into your next workday.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the language of success.
It has been an absolute pleasure to unpack this with you.
We will see you all next time. Keep building that vocabulary.